That period of time, the neighborhood is diverse in many ways, but people weren't too close together because most of them were immigrants from different islands and different places throughout the world. And they were sort of shy of getting too close to each other. And there were hardly any children in the entire community. It was known as Milton Street. We used to refer to it one time as Tobacco Road of the South Dock because of many of the situations we find ourselves. We grew up in a little place I lived in with my grandparents with just 3-room houses, just a small, not much bigger than a pigeon coop or chicken coop. But we managed. Outdoor plumbing was an outhouse. To get water, there was a well dug. I'd go out every morning, drop a bucket down at the well to bring up the water. This is how you washed your face and washed everything, cooked. You had no stove in the house, so you lived very, very humble. So I always say I was born in poverty, I will die in poverty, but poverty is love. It's love. Because the whole community was in the same situation. We were all doing the same thing and trying to make the most of it, but we succeeded. My parents were fortunate enough to have another house, 2 houses in New Bedford, side by side. One was a 3-decker, the other was a 2-decker. And while we were living there, because we were during a period of depression and all the stuff we had, everybody was down and out, really suffering. My mother took in a Canadian-French family who had 2 children at the time to move in with us and live with us. Our unit was only 3-bedroom unit, so you imagine we had 12 people living in a 3-bedroom unit. But it was beautiful, everybody got together. For the children, we didn't have enough beds, so we slept on couches together, 3 of us, 4 of us would be on a couch. Then in the mornings we'd get up and get cleaned up and go to school, things like that. And we played and had a good time. A couple of years later, a Polish family fell on hard times. They moved in with us with 4 kids up there. So my mother was like the patron of the street there, of the First Street at the time. The community was mostly like 75% Jewish, and the rest was Portuguese and Cape Verde and things like that. And then we had another group here that also moved in with us. And so our family was like a cathedral of sorts, taking in a lot of people, and we were the poorest of the poor. But yet, this love kept us together so that we all got along together, we ate together, we did everything together, and so it was fine. So as time went on, and we grew up, got a little older, people moved on to their own houses. One house that was right next door that my parents owned, my grandparents owned, became empty. So the Polish family, the Susans, they were named, they had 4 children now. So now they had been living with us for over a year, and we were really proud of them. So my mother says, Mrs. Susan, would you like to live in that house next door? It's empty now. People moved up. Oh, she flipped out and was so happy. So she moved in the house. She stayed in that house until her entire family died for over 50 years. Never paid rent. This was from my mother. Complete stranger. And then the other couple that moved there was 2 Jewish guys. Their name was Schuster. We used to call one Red Schuster because his hair was red. The community we lived in was like I said, about 75% Jewish. All the Jewish stores, owners, and all stuff was on. So we had a great, great time growing up. I worked at the delicatessens, I worked at the Crowder Bakery, did all the things. I'd go to school, junior high school, come back straight to the bakery. At home, I used to bring home a bag of bread. So when I hear later on, they're bringing home the bread, I was bringing home the bread when I was 9 or 10 years old. That was my favorite, bagels, rye bread, and we loved it. And we just had a great, great time, mixing in this very diverse community. So I have trouble when I see the problems we have today going on in this world. But that's another issue. Then I moved on where I got a letter from the military that they wanted me to draft. I noticed that I was going to be drafted. I asked my brother, I said, what's drafted? I didn't know what it was. He said, well, you have to go sign a paper that said that you will go in the military when they call you. I said, I don't want to go in the military. I want to finish school. I want to go to school. Oh, well, you have to go when the government says you have to go. You have to go. So I said, okay. And so the time came when they did call me. I had to go to the draft board and they said, well, we're going to put you in the infantry. I said, what's the infantry? They said, well, you're on the ground with guns and you kill people. I said, I don't want to do that. He says, well, you don't have much choice. I said, but there is a way. I said, I understand that your family is very much involved in whaling, in the fishing industry, and you've been connected to the sea. Well, maybe there might be a space for you in the Navy. So I said, yeah, I'd like to do that, because I'll be on a boat. And so they said, okay. So they signed me up, and so I did a two-year hitch in the Navy on a destroyer. Our job was to try to sink submarines, because the Germans had a lot of submarines in the Atlantic area, so we were supposed to go there and drop what was known as depth charges to blow them up out of the water, because they're on the water. Well, that didn't work out too well. We had to go to Cuba. At the time, Batista was the head of the Cuban country, and Castro was fighting Cuba in the jungles and trying to throw out, what's it called? Anyways, we were over there doing military exercises, we were fighting Marines would go ashore, we'd be firing over their heads, things like that. And so we were there so long that they suddenly, Pentagon changed direction, wanted us to travel more towards South America. And at that time, there was a pause. We had to go to Norfolk, Virginia, which was our base. And they said, we need certain people for another ship transfer. So I was one of the people they chose. And they put me on an aircraft carrier. And so I was assigned to aircraft carrier. And I was told I had to serve another 2 years. I served that 2 years. And out of that, as I was getting out of that, on March the 7th, I took my discharge. On March the 8th, I was in the Air Force. So it was a continued transition. So when I went in the Air Force and went through assignment to basic, I said, what would you like to do? I said, well, I want to fly. I want to be a pilot. I said, oh, you can't be a pilot. I said, why not? I said, because they don't allow colored pilots. I said, yeah, but there's a Tuskegee Air Force in Alabama that's a pilot program, that's not for you. I said, so you can't. I said, well, what we can do is we can send you to the Tuskegee School to fix the airplanes and do the other things, stuff like that. So I said, well, where's that? They said, Chanute Field, Illinois. So they said, you'll be part of the Tuskegee Airmen, but you won't be a Tuskegee pilot. I said, well, I want to be a pilot. I said, no, I'm sorry, you can't. So they shipped me to Tuskegee, to Chanute Field to learn different things. So I had to learn how to repair airplanes. I had to learn all the navigation stuff. I had to learn instrumentation. There were a number of things, hydraulics, electrical, and all that, that put a whole plane together. So I'm very upset now because, the service was not integrated at the time. It was segregated. So I'm very upset because I want to fly. So it takes me back. I want to step back. When I was on the farm working with my grandparents, after work, I would go by this brook that ran alongside our property, and there was like a long, patch of grass, and I would just lie there, and I'd fall asleep because I was so tired of working with my grandparents on the farm. And I'd do this. My eyes would open up. I look and I see this biplane. It belonged to Colonel Green in South Africa.
Oh.
And it was a yellow plane. I can visualize the one now. And I hear this humming. I got to do it to myself. So I'm going to fly. There's no way I'm not going to fly. I'm going to fly. So here I am at the base. And this friend of mine said, let's go to town. with another student. He said, let's take a ride into town to Illinois, Champaign, Illinois, where the University of Illinois is. So I said, okay, so we're on the bus and we went down. Then we passed this little airfield, I see an airfield not too far from the base. Wow. I got curious about that. So next day, I kept thinking about it. I wonder if I could go over there and see what they do. So a couple of days later, I did. I took the bus, went down there, asked the bus driver if he would stop there. He said, sure. So he dropped me off, and I'm in my uniform. I walked over to that little house that was there. I asked a couple of fellows that were there. I said, do you teach people how to fly here? He said, yes, we do. I said, could you teach me? They said, yeah, I know in the military. I said, no. He said, the military won't pay. I said, no, I'll pay you. And so he says, okay, we'll take you. And so he says, come back when you can, and we'll take you up to fly. And so that happened. I took learned how to fly, and in 4 hours, I had my license. Because you are natural.
Wow.
And it was so thrilling, you know, that here I was being rejected by the military that I was a part of because of my skin color, and yet the guy that taught me how to fly was a military captain. But he wasn't on the base, so it makes a big difference right there. So that always stayed with me, you know, and along the way, in my travels, I kept noticing this problem with discrimination and racism and all this foolishness, and I said, this isn't no way to live. It's wrong. I saw my Jewish friends who I'm very close to, who lived with me. You know, I said, I could never treat them that way. You know, I said, I have too much love for people. Because I learned that from being close to animals and things on the farm, taking care of things. For most of the time, I was out there shoveling manure. You know what manure is?
Yes, yeah.
And I was using, this was what was used for fertilizer. This is how we grew our crops and things like that. But all these little things that were developing in my life were turning me around, were educating me and doing things, because I had no friends. My friends were the rabbits, the pigeons, animals around me, the snakes and things like that. I'd get a snake, I'd bring it in, my grandmother would run and hide under the bed or something. And all scared, Billy, you got to do this thing. And so, the story continues on where I continued with my education, because my mother was always pushing me, education. But I had so many interruptions that it was sort of starting to drop. But I managed to get through it and picked up 4 degrees along the way. A degree in law, a degree in education, a degree in management, legal management, and what I think of what it is, and the civil rights and all that, whatever. Civil rights, with the Office for Civil Rights out of Washington, and then also Houses and Urban Development, and others. I met a lot of very influential people. That to me, they were just people. I could care less about their influence on their position, they know who they were and what they did. Like George Romney was my boss, Mitt Romney's father, and then I met Mitt Romney, and then I met Mitt Romney's mother Ann. They invited me to their home, I had dinner with them, things like that. They treated me real well. I met a lot of others, the Kennedys. I worked with Ted Kennedy, I worked with Jack Kennedy when he first when he was running for senator in Massachusetts. So I met a lot of influential people along the way. But all through this travelogue, I was noticing the way people were acting in this country, the things they did to one another. And I said, this is wrong, this is very wrong. So I made it in Korea, then I was sent to Japan, then to Korea. In Korea, we were in heavy fighting and everything else. We were fighting not only to South Korea and North Korea, we were fighting the Chinese as well, who had joined in. And my outfit was the 7th Fighter Bomber outfit. We lost 65 guys that I knew and tore my heart apart because I was very close to a couple of them. And one guy named Gordon Walsh, just 21-year-old pilot, black pilot, first pilot in our outfit. They got shot down. The morning he got shot down, I took his picture just an hour before he got killed. It was so heartbreaking. I still have this photograph. I found out where Gordon went to school, Loyola University. After 50 years of tracking him down, I finally found out where he went. I went to California, to the university president, and had him memorialized. Now there's a plaque in there, Gordon Walsh.
Nice.
Yeah. And that made me feel like I completed this mission of taking care of his brother. And so my life goes on where it's been all in the humanities, more or less, caring about people, doing things with people. But as a kid, I shined shoes, I plucked chickens, I washed dishes, I did all these things that most people, kids today, would never think of doing. I did it. You know, I'd go in bars and this, I cleaned bar rooms, up their floors, washed their floors and things like that. I wasn't ashamed of doing it. Work is work, you know. That's why I say I was born in poverty, I will die in poverty. But the poverty that I say I will die in is love. There's nothing to be ashamed of being poor. We have to support our poor people, those that have been disenfranchised because they need it. Here, Ruby Dot, over there. Ruby, as I have been a member of the LAAC for years, at one of our meetings, she said, Bill, she said, the president is leaving because he can no longer do his job. Her name was Carmo Olivier. She says, I'd like to see you apply for the position of president of the LAAC. I said, Ruby, I don't know if I can do it because right now I have my construction business going, and I'm also doing a lot of architecture, residential architecture, drawings, things like that. So I'm pretty busy. And so she begged me and begged me. She said, I want you to build my house. I said, well, what do you have in mind? She says, I don't know, but I want you to design it. So I met with Ruby on the home. I designed a home for them because it's built the house for her for cost. No profit, just cost. Just for what it costs to build the house for her. When she found out she broke out and cried. She says, you know, we didn't have the money to go. I said, I know. I said, but I have, you know, the will and the time and the opportunity to do it, so I did it for her. So I put up the house. So the house is so
nice
big,
house,
it's
too.
worth at least $500,000 or more. I put the $25,000 just for the home.
Yeah,
But this is one of the stories. And I put several others here. I also have my own real estate company. I would buy houses for people to my real estate. Instead of taking the commission, I'd give the commission to them as a deposit. So that would enable them to go forward and move into their homes.
Yep.
I started a seafood plant here in the Bedford, it's still there. And where we started the first seafood processing plant here on the waterfront on Hassey Street in Bedford. And we had about 80% of it. My daughter Victoria, she worked there, you know, dealing with lobsters and crabs and things like that.